Oh, hello, welcome, welcome. We're just starting the room. So bear with us. We will be waiting for other colleagues to join us and we'll get started. But essentially, the room is, as you can see from the title, Forging a Nation is a Failed State in South Sudan. So we will explore the dimensions of this proposition. So let's give some more time for others to join us, and we'll be good to go. Hello, Lukurunya. Welcome.
Sorry for the delay. We will be starting very soon. This is Equatoria People's Alliance on the third anniversary of the organization.
Welcome, Margaret. Welcome.
I'll end here for now.
Please, Bill, working together as one team
Going forward.
have become subject to this. Yeah, so welcome, Akulia. You want to say a few words? How has it been going? And Zandawi as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Hakim and Zandawiya. And I look forward to participating in this session on the eve of the anniversary of EPA. We've come a long, long way, and we're going to continue walking. This is a tag team. This is a race, and we will not drop the baton. At least I can speak for myself. I am not dropping this baton. It has been a long road for EPA, 3 years, and still going, in spite of the fact that at the initiation of EPA, there was a very determined effort to destroy it, and to ridicule it, to put it down, and to basically, derail the vision of EPA. So I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who has contributed to EPA until now. And I'm very glad that this record is going to go down as part of the history that all of us, are trying to be a part of. And so I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who has had faith in EPA and continued in spite, of all the hardships, all the difficulties and all the challenges. We've had a few days of basically talking about EPA and about what's happening in that territory called South Sudan. And I'm just inviting everyone to become a part of it, because it's entirely up to us now to decide what should happen in that territory going forward. We have to decide as a collective, and it's a failed state. There's really no other definition of the status quo in that territory. It is completely failed as a state, but that should not prevent Equatoria from forging a nation. And it should not prevent anybody else, all the inhabitants, from forging a nation or nations. That territory is at a crossroads, really. So we can do the right thing. We can map the correct way forward, and sustain that place and basically preserve it, for everybody's sake. Like, it's not just for Equatorial's sake, but everyone who inhabits that land. owes, like they owe future generations, they owe the ancestors, who fought so hard for this territory. They owe everybody. You cannot be sitting on the fence anymore at this time. You have to be a full participant, whether it's indirectly or directly, or everybody has a role to play, and to become a part of history. And whatever nation people decide to forge forward is what's going to be. And because EPA's focus is Equatoria, we are going to be focusing on Equatoria on this platform. But like I've said, before, anyone can use Equatoria as a model. We don't mind. But what is non-negotiable is the destruction of Equatoria and its peoples. That is absolutely non-negotiable. And we're just going to have to, fight it out. Like you cannot be destroying Equatoria, not in our presence. Because our ancestors worked really hard to make Equatoria what it is. And so they passed the baton to us. So we will not drop this baton at all. We are going to run this race to its conclusion. And you can either use Equatoria as a model, or you don't have to, but nobody has the right to come in and destroy Equatoria. There's no right. The people have rights, that they were endowed, by the ancestors. So you cannot be the ones that derail, the development of the nation of Equatoria. So you're going to have the fight in your hands. Although, right now, there's so many naysayers, people who put, Equatoria down, and even EPA. We've come a long way, and we're going to keep going. EPA is not going anywhere. And so people are just going to have to be prepared to deal with EPA. So once again, I want to welcome my fellow panelists, and I also want to welcome the audience, and anybody else who's going to come up later on, and anybody who's going to listen to this recording. Like I said, this is a recording, and it's a historical day for EPA. And so we're going to keep forging forward and celebrating. And so this celebration started a few days ago. We all contributed, and we were open to questions, and we will continue, on the eve of EPA's formation. So this is just for everybody around the world. We are in different time zones. Where I am, it's just a little in the afternoon where I am. It's about half past midday where I am, on the west coast of Canada. And in some around the world, in the UK, it's around 8:30 in the evening, and in Africa, in East Africa, I believe in some East African countries, it's 10:35 at night. So it's the eve. It's the eve of EPA's formation on August 29th. And then in Australia, so it's a few hours, very many hours ahead of where I am right now. So I just want to, welcome everyone, and we promise that it's going to be a full session and a very educational and a free session. Anyone is welcome to contribute. Anyone is welcome to ask questions. Like I said, we're not going anywhere, and we're not crawling anywhere, and we are prepared for any question. So welcome everyone, and I'll end here for now, but I'll be contributing fully. Thank you.
Thank you, Equatoria, for that beautiful opening remarks. We are really blessed to have the voices of our, sisters here on this forum. We are gender, we are gender conscious. We are all, working together as one team. and in particular, EPA has a very unique character to it. We have many of our sisters driving EPA forward. They have like babysitted EPA from the start, and EPA is growing because of their efforts, because of their dedication, because of their voices. So this is an incredible feat. We've been here now for the last 3 years and counting, which is really very important. And we would love to obviously share our knowledge, our experiences that we have, developed over time, and we welcome other voices as well. Our colleagues down here who are listening, please later feel free to join us and have a say. What we want to foster is an inclusive platform that is receptive to the views of other people, because those are the values that we stand for. We stand for inclusivity, we stand for openness and transparency, and we also stand for the public's right to know. So you're all most welcome here. Feel free. We're all going to be learning from each other. No one's view is we value the contributions and views of all of you here, and we're also thankful. The fact that you came here in this room to come and listen to us is a show of solidarity, is a show of brotherhood and sisterhood. That we, after all, we have something in common, which is that we are trying to resolve and address ourselves to the issues that face us, and work out the solutions, the way forward. So thank you for your patience, for your initiative to join us here. We are really grateful for that show of consideration. So I will give a chance to Zandawia to come on board and just give some few opening remarks, and what do you want to get out of these sessions here today, Zandawia, and just maybe how far have we come, and I'm not trying to direct you, but I just wanted you to feel free and take it as it comes. So yeah, feel free to chip in.
Okay, thank you, brother, Dr. Hakim, Sister Margaret, and all the people who are listening. I am so grateful and thankful to God that really we have gone all this far. It's now the 3rd anniversary of EPA, which is the Equatoria People's Alliance. And as my sister Margaret said, people wanted to derail it even before it started. But hey ho, here we are, and we are still going. We are going strong. One of the things which people will have to realize is that when you start any new venture, which is different from the normal things which people do, they will either ridicule you, they will laugh at you, they will say you will never get there, and so on and so forth. It's typical of human beings, and especially of our South Sudanese. They always want to follow something which is the norm for them, the usual thing. Somebody does something, and then somebody else does the same thing. And if you change something, they will not like it. So the first thing I want to say is congratulations to EPA and the EPA management and EPA members, EPA fans, all sympathizers with Equatoria, and we have got many. Congratulations to you. Mabruk, alfi mabruk. You have done us so proud. The fact that you are here, you are solid, you are showing people how things should be done. We don't have a chairman who will tell you what to say, who who will boss you around and things like that. We are all of equal sort of like authority and of equal value. And this is what we like about EPA. That's why also you get a high number of females in EPA. And this is what South Sudan really needs, because look at the men. They have messed up the country, unfortunately. You know, it's an all man's government that we have got. Very few women are there, and their voices are not even heard, and so on and so forth. So this is the condition we are in. EPA is coming with a different taste, with a different feel, with a different facade, you know, and with a different sort of like, I would say, gem jawhar. A jawhar that EPA is completely different. The value of EPA is different. And that's why we are in a very celebratory mood. I am so, so happy. And I am so, so proud of our achievement. And this is for the sake of Equatoria. One of the things which I will have to remind people of South Sudan is that Equatoria is unique. Of all the South Sudanese, the Equatorians are unique, and Equatoria itself is unique, simply because it has got a people already called Equatorians. And these people, they know that they are Equatorians. They can feel it at different levels. I don't, you know, it's like that everywhere. But we know exactly where our region is. We know exactly what our people need. And we know exactly, you know, how our country should be run. And I will tell you, the way it's being run today is not the way that we want Equatoria to be run. In the beginning, all of us wanted to be of one South Sudan. But the way things are, the mindset, the authoritarian type of doing things, of governing the country, and the utter destruction of places everywhere in South Sudan, including Equatoria, we are putting our feet down and saying, no, that's enough. We do not want Equatoria to be destroyed by people who are not from Equatoria. They come and they destroy things. We are farmers mostly. We love cultivating our vegetables, our fruits, and so on and so forth. Now you have seen the utter destruction and the thievery in broad daylight. People think that they can do that because they have got the government. And unfortunately, the way we understand what government is that it belongs to a certain tribe. If the president is a Dinka, then it's a Dinka state. If the president is a Zande, then it's a Zande state. And this has got to stop, because people are doing it deliberately. We are not for all this. We want a free and a peaceful land. This is what we are fighting for. This is what our ancestors fought for. So we are not going to leave it to people who are coming there to loot and to destroy beyond recognition. Look at Equatoria. The small villages which I didn't even know existed are now being breached by the SSPDF. They go there, they kill people, they rape women, they steal, they do all sorts of things. And if we keep quiet and we bend down to what they want to destroy not only the land of Equatoria, they want to destroy the name of Equatoria itself. And we have seen it so many times. They changed the state's number, and they renamed it by using different names so that the name Equatoria will disappear. And unfortunately, some Equatorians are helping them, but it's only the few. The majority are not. So these are only the few. Those who are in government, like Buani Iga, and what's his name, Waniga, Martin Iliya, and so on and so forth. These are only a handful of people. They are there to fulfill the Jeng agenda of South Sudan, and that means that the whole of South Sudan, all the tribes, are to be no more, and everybody is to be Dinkanized. This is basically what it is. We didn't fight for that. We fought for the truth. We fought for freedom. As Equatorians, our forefathers, one of them is still alive today with us. Yaba, retired General Joseph Lagu is here, still with us. They are the ones who have fought for this country, for the whole of South Sudan, and they have sacrificed so much. Apart from the rest who have passed on, and so we have got so many people who we know their names. We have got a big list of people who have died for Equatoria. So why should we bend to a criminal government that's saying to us, no, you are not Equatorians. Equatoria is not there. And then they bring all sorts of excuses and reasons and theories that there is nothing called Equatoria, while you get it there on the map and you get it in history. So they are trying to change history. And some of our Equatorians, unfortunately, are bending down to them. And these Equatorians have got to check themselves, because if it's a party policy, they can always change it. We will never, as Sister Akuli has said, we will never compromise with Equatoria, with our name, our identity. Equatoria is part of our identity. Yani hasa, if somebody comes and tells me, oh, my full name is Almazino Rico Ettore. If somebody says to me, no, you take the word Ettore out of your name, then that means that that person is actually changing my identity. And if I am stupid, I will say, yes, it's okay. It's not okay. And I am of a mixture of different tribes. If somebody tells me, this tribe, you take it out of your heritage, or you take it out of your identity, I will say no. Because if I say yes, then that means that I am actually messing with my own identity. And my children will be messed about as well. So that's why we should never compromise. Equatoria is there to stay. Equatoria is always Equatoria. What they are doing, they are changing the demography of Equatoria by chasing away the Equatorians, the indigenous people of the land, and then bringing Dinka and putting them in different parts of Equatoria. They will never, ever, ever succeed. I have been to different countries in this world. I have been to many European countries. I have been even to Arab countries. What I have seen is that when people are killed in all these countries, nearly every one of them, including the UK, where I live in, if you kill people because you want to take their heritage, you want to take them off the land, you are just doing the opposite. They will regrow. زي شعر لما تقول شعر بقوم زيادة. This is exactly how it is. Killing people will never extinguish them. Whatever they do, we are still here. That's why we should never be afraid of dying, because if 10 die, 1,000 will rise up the next day. They can never finish us all. They will never be able to do that. If they are now living in our land, when I traveled, the nearest country I traveled to was Hungary. In Hungary, they had occupation by the Russian people, Russian military, for nearly 40 years, 40. Today, you don't find any trace of any Russia. You don't find their trace. Did you hear what I'm saying? You don't, over 40 years actually, you don't find their trace there. It's all Hungarian and they're very proud. And incidentally, we went there and it was their anniversary. They were celebrating. So not only in Hungary, in so many countries, the same thing. People come, they come and destroy, they come and occupy, they come and rape, they come and kill, but they will never, ever finish the people of the land. They will never be able to do that. Because if they're doing that, they are going against the law of God. You can't go against God. If God created Equatorians and put them in the land of Equatoria, who are you? Who are you to come and say, no, Equatorians shouldn't be living here? You don't have the right to say that. And we are there to stay. And that's why we created EPA. EPA is going to be the organization that will talk for Equatoria and Equatorians. However long it will take us. And slowly people will get educated, people will start to know, their rights. Because if somebody takes away your identity, then you are nothing. And I gave an example of dead bodies that are given names so that they're there until they get buried. You should have an identity until you get buried. Until the time you get buried, even after the time you get buried, your name should always be there. It should never fall down. So this is what I am saying. And again, I want to congratulate all the Equatorians, all the sympathizers of Equatoria. And I want to say that Equatoria is there to stay. And thank you very much, Dr. Hakim.
Thank you, Zandavia, Dr. Atma, laid out the view or understanding our identity and who we are, what we're proud of, and what we want to achieve. We have been here now for over the last 3 years. We are being very consistent. We know where we're going. Our end point is very clear, like the North Star, and that's what we're aiming to get to, where we want to get to. Once more, my brothers and sisters here, all those of you who have just joined us, you're most welcome. This is a marker for EPA's anniversary. EPA was founded in 2020, following a process of Equatoria to Equatoria dialogue, the outcome of which was the formation of Equatoria People's Alliance. But what motivated the Equatoria to Equatoria dialogue was a recognition of the fact that Equatoria was facing an existential threat, and Equatorians gathered themselves together to share ideas, explore and understand the predicament of the people of Equatoria at a time when there were, influx of refugees from Equatoria to the neighboring countries, particularly to Uganda, to the tune of 1.8 billion. It was reported at the time that this influx of refugees into Uganda was the largest exodus of refugees in Africa since the 1994 Rwanda genocide. So what is happening to Equatoria? Why is this happening? So those were the kind of issues that our people, the Equatorians, humbled themselves to come together and debate and discuss and explore and understand their situation. At the end of that, Equatorians concluded that there was need for us to collectively respond to this existential threat because Equatoria was being dispossessed of political power. They were being dispossessed of their land. They were being forced to become stateless. They were not enjoying what they used to take for granted. For example, freedom of expression, electing their own representatives, and so on. What they found themselves living under is a dictatorship, is an authoritarian system that has got nothing in common with their culture, their democratic and inclusive culture. As you probably recognize, Equatoria has got over 34 or more social groups, different ethnic groups that have gelled and intermarried over time and assumed an identity that they themselves accept. They accept themselves as Equatorians. They do recognize they come from, particular ethnic communities, but these ethnic communities have lived together. They have lived together and they have started to develop this identity of looking at themselves as a nation, as the Equatorian nation. And that is something that is unique to Equatoria. And we do not, ده مكتسبات في صالح بتاعت الشعب الاستوائي And we don't want to let go of that. We don't want to lose that. There's a huge value in maintaining the identity of Equatoria, and our people have intermarried. They have crossed boundaries. These ethnic boundaries have not become an issue for them. They freely interact, they freely marry each other across different tribes and so on. And there are examples here. You can see that, for example, here in this forum, there are many of us here. We come from the different ethnic groups, social groups that exist in Equatoria. And we find that, we don't see any problem with it. And that is our identity. That's our acquired identity, because of the social forces that were at play dynamically until now within Equatoria social group. So we look at Equatoria as one social group, as one nation with different components within it. We don't, have the example of living as just ethnic groups that do not interact and integrate with each other. So there's a process of integration that has been going on in Equatoria for a long time, and that's why when we felt that there is now a threat, an existential threat to this status and identity of Equatoria as people, land, culture, and values, we have to do something about it. We have to consider how can we continue to preserve the land of Equatoria, the people, the culture, and their values. And that's where this idea of Equatorial state formation comes from, that Equatorians should preserve themselves through creating a state that preserves their interest, that promotes their existence, that they bequeath to their posterity. So that's where we're coming from. That is how EPA emerged in response to this collective threat to our existence as Equatorians. As you can see in the title of this discussion and room, we're saying forging a nation is a failed state in South Sudan. I mean, like, this is, it doesn't make sense, does it? If are we, we are in a position where we are trying to forge a nation in a failed state. Okay, the state that we have is an ill-fated state. In other words, and it is the very state that has caused our, caused the risk of existential threat to Equatoria, and this state is being maintained at gunpoint. This state is being imposed, and it is not formed to create a nation state. Many of you would have attended several sessions, even in other different fora within the clubhouse. People describe the state that we are in as a tribal state. زي دولة قبلية. Many people hold the same view, not just Equatorians, that South Sudan has become an ill-fated state. It's a state that is it's not going to be able to preserve our existence because we are subjected to the forces of this state. And I think, just by way of example, to just clarify some of these issues, is that we live in this country, which is, born in 2011, and then we saw that after 2011, we soon kind of set off against the process of state building, the process of nation-state building. We went into war in 2013 and we killed ourselves. We fought and we could not find a way to, avoid this ethnic conflict that emerged, and that repeated itself in 2016 as well. And as a result, as a consequence of that, thousands and thousands of our people found themselves becoming refugees. So the trajectory is not moving in the direction of forging a nation state. It's not. You may have different views on this. Some of you may have different views on this, but the trajectory and the indicators show that we are not forging a nation state. We are not forging a nation state, but we are forging a failed state. So this is the contrast, and we want you to challenge this proposition that we are forging a failed state. We are not forging a nation state. So that is one of the discussion points that I hope some of you will be able to comment on it as and when we progress with the discussion here. And again, very quickly, let me just lay out remarks on the anniversary of the EPA, the third anniversary. I shared a posting which I put up here in the room earlier in the day about this very topic, saying forging a failed state in South Sudan. What we have come to recognize, and you are free to dispute this, is that there is the marriage of corruption and a huge amount of a toxic ethnicism in South Sudan. And this is what Salva Kiir is presiding on. He's presiding on this corruption. It's like marriage is like you understand people go and get married in the church, right? This is like you have corruption and ethnicism or tribalism being married to corruption. The two are married under the system that we now have in South Sudan. And that's why we're saying is an ill-fated state, because it is constructed of the marriage of tribalism, which we describe as ethnicism as well, and corruption. So these two components have been married, and they have formed a home. Their home is South Sudan. Their home is South Sudan, and so there seems to be now this perception, which you may or may be free to challenge if you accept, or we're simply saying this marriage of corruption, this marriage of impunity, this marriage of tribalism and impunity and tyranny, authoritarianism, this marriage has dealt a severe blow. It has dealt a preemptive strike, and a fatal one, a deadly one, on the proposition of forging a nation state in South Sudan. So if you were to think that we are building a nation state in South Sudan, then you would see on the curve of the development of this nation state that we're doing the right things. But unfortunately, what we have done is we have created and allowed this marriage to take place of corruption, impunity, authoritarianism, land occupation, and all of this. And there is an authority that is responsible for doing all of this. And that is the regime of Kiir and those who support this regime. So that is the proposition of forging a nation as a failed state. This is like you are saying, let's form this nation as a failed state by design. So the aim of those who are in power, who are exercising power, is to form, to try to forge, a failed state as the container for the nation. That's just how we want to describe it. And this is unfolding in South Sudan. It's becoming apparent. It is really becoming apparent. You may not agree with us, but this is what we think. This is what we believe. So, and I want to take you back to many of the discussions that we have had For example, we talked about the politics of ethnocide and what is happening to the people of Equatoria under this policy of ethnocide. Dr. Carol Berger illustrated this wonderfully in her paper on, drawing conclusions and lessons from observing and documenting the ethnographic, narrative in South Sudan. So that is another aspect of nation-state building that has gone wrong. And it just adds to the number of accumulation of the drivers of everything that does not help nation-state building. But it is happening, it's on the ground. So if it is happening on the ground, it is taking place right in front of our eyes, it means that our claim that this is actually an ill-fated state and it's a jaying state is right. It's right for us to make a conclusion to that effect. Because if you look at how this state behaved, for example, towards Equatorians, and I've cited earlier on that the massacres that took place in Kajukeji, in Lokiliri, and various other places in Equatoria, as you can see, they were not challenged by the state. Those massacres were not challenged by the state. On the contrary, there seems to be a shared monopoly of violence against Equatorians. The monopoly of violence against Equatorians and against, you would have assumed and expected that monopoly of violence is in the hands of the state alone. But when that is shared with the cattle herders, the Jeng militia who are roaming about in Equatoria and causing, inflicting atrocities and massacres against our people, and the state does not interfere, then the conclusion is that there is this idea of the state having monopoly of violence or the monopoly of arms. But this is now being shared with the specific communities who happen to hail from the ethnicity of the president of the country. And of course, the state is dominated by, members of one ethnic or two communities, the Jeng and the Nuer. We are not ashamed to say that because we have to really call a spade a spade. So if this is the situation that we have, that Equatoria is being subjected to, then the conclusion for Equatorians is that there's no state that is preserving them. And so they have to take initiative by themselves to create a state to preserve their existence. Because otherwise the massacres will continue. They would have no say in the affairs of how they want to govern themselves, how they want to protect themselves, and so on. So these are some of the drivers of the ill-fated state, which may be acceptable to the Jeng and the Nuer communities. That this is the model of forming and forging a nation state, but in our view, it's not. So we're saying the politics of ethnocide and has made it elusive for us to contemplate a nation-state building that we can be part of, that we can be proud of. And that also means that it is defining another crossroads for us. It is defining another crossroads. And it is just simply, if you look, it's a kind of like a dialectic of necessity. Yes, there was necessity for us to create a state that we call the Republic of South Sudan, because we fought together to free ourselves from Sudan for obvious reasons. And therefore, it was a necessity of our people who wanted to, enjoy liberty. We fought for liberty, and that was a necessity for our survival as South Sudanese. Now, when Equatoria finds itself in a position where we're facing this onslaught, this extinction process taking shape, and through ethnocide and so on and so forth, then we have come to, that brings about a new necessity. This new necessity is part of this process of the evolution that is taking place in our existence. And so because of this dialectic, because of this necessity, necessity, as people always say, that necessity is the mother of all inventions, and it is also the mother of all revolutions. And when there is necessity for revolution, then you find yourself, you are engaged in a revolutionary action. And this is the consequence. When people face an existential threat, then there is the necessity for the people to simply resist it and survive. So this necessity is what is driving Equatorians to begin to conceive of creating their own state in which they would be able to preserve their existence. So I'll briefly stop here, but I have tried to lay the elements of this proposition just to give opportunity for people to understand what is it that's motivating us as EPA, and then hopefully, if you this lands on people's minds and their understanding, they would be able to have a basis for contributing to the discussion. So right here, I think I should stop and give chance to first of all to welcome our colleague Daniel. So feel free, Daniel, and it's just very timely, so you can introduce yourself and a little bit, say something a little bit about our anniversary today, EPS anniversary, actually on the 29th, but we have, decided to take the opportunity of some available free time for us to have this discussion here and share with the rest of our communities. Welcome.
City Records. Rumbani na kayangan, rumbani na digi, rumbani na mengele music, rumbani na MMG, BMS. EPA on the beat. Kaligi, okilampo, jamere, okilampo, tangaji, okilampo, kaligi, okilampo, jamere, okilampo, tangaji, okilampo. We got that domono. We got that domono. Yella karo, yella ngote, ine tai koja, kojita very long hair, kita hotel. Nakonda yo darankan, nakonda yo darankan, mama utula benya yang menaju, baba utila benya yang menaju, tapi demi karena sayang, abangan ko sayang, sayang, lutule sayang, manis sayang, akin kita sayang, pagkatin sayang, mutukin sayang, karun sayang, nanti sayang, your last sayang.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Hakim, Sister Margaret, and Dr. Zandawiya. I know all of you are high caliber doctors. And I also want to thank our listeners who are here and those who are on Facebook, in case we're on Facebook. First of all, I'm really so delighted to be part of this celebration, the third celebration of EPA. I had the pleasure to celebrate last year when Dr. Laura was giving her presentation about the identity issue. And today, I'm really, like I said, I have the pleasure to be here, and I'm celebrating here in full swing. And I hope all of our listeners here are also celebrating in full swing. The reason really, and you talk about motivation, you know, a person must have a motivation really to do something. When the people of South Sudan were fighting for the independence, all of us were motivated to have a free, peaceful, prosperous, and a country that provides liberty and justice to all. That was the motivation, really. And people have fought vigorously without any pay, without any incentive. And the incentive that we had expected was to have this viable nation called South Sudan. But since 2005 up to now, you know, it came as a disappointment really to most people in South Sudan. And that is why people in Equatoria, which is our constituency, which is our motivation now, because we need to salvage our constituency, which is Equatoria.
And this is our motivation here. That's why we're coming here also in full swing to make sure that our constituency, Equatoria, is not extinct. Because as we see it now, all the indications are showing that, there is an onslaught on Equatoria in all aspects. And these are the things that we'll be discussing shortly. But in this juncture, I just want to say welcome to all of you who are here. And we want you to share the room. And like we always say, Equatoria, when Equatoria is calling for it is independence or it is autonomous governance, it is not like against anybody else really, but it is a call that we also want to recall our history, preserve it, and then go as a people, a strong people who have their history, who have this territory called Equatoria, and who have all these vast resources, so that we can be able to contribute effectively in the neighboring countries or in the East African community as people who have this history. And so that we can be able to also show the people of South Sudan that, yes, you can be able to do what you want to do really in your capacity. And calling for your own autonomous system, calling for a system of governance that will actually safeguard your interests within this country called South Sudan, for those who still have that motivation to pursue the dream of South Sudan, then you also have the right really to do that. So therefore, what we're calling here is not really against anybody else, but it is in the best interest of Equatoria to do this one. And this is the generation that can really do it. Because if we don't do it now, really, I don't think the work will be easy for the upcoming generation. So we're putting ourselves here as a pioneer to champion this dream. And we strongly believe that it is based on realities that are like encroaching into Equatoria on the ground. And we trust that, if we continue to be consistent and insistent in this, these dreams that appears to be far-fetched for many, or even for some Equatorians, it will be realized. I trust it will be realized during our lifetime. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I will be around, like I said. I may be busy with other errands here and there, but when the time comes later on, I'll be able to talk more. And the things that I want to talk more about are what I indicated yesterday. I want to carry on with the anniversary, of course, and then I also want to talk about the power dynamics in South Sudan and the ideas that led to the inception of the SPLM and the effects of the SPLM on the Equatoria region and the people. So thank you, and I'm just glad to be here. So you may carry on.
Thank you, Daniel. I also want to take an opportunity to invite our Arabic speakers. We do have people on the podium who are fluently bilingual. So please come on up and have your say in Arabic or English. I know that many of us speak one or the other language, but there's others who speak both languages. So today is an opportunity for anyone, all of you, to come and have your say. So thank you, Daniel, for your initial remarks. I also want to take an opportunity to thank the audiences that are the members of the audience that have just joined us. Just to recap, today is the 28th of August, and 3 years tomorrow, here where I am, EPA was founded, and like Zandawiya outlined, EPA is a very unusual and unique concept. It's a flat structure. Everyone's contribution is valued equally. There's no such thing as a small contribution or a big contribution. It's not a hierarchy. It's not, so everyone is encouraged to have their say. And like what Daniel's, articulated, EPA is not here to wage war against other people. We're just here to speak on behalf of Equatoria because it's facing a threat, existential threat. And that's the reason why 3 years ago, we felt the need to come together and talk about it and just talk in a dialogue that we named Equatoria to Equatoria Dialogue, really just to talk about what's needed to protect Equatoria. And we're well aware that there are going to be people, even in this audience, who don't agree that Equatoria is under threat. That is your opinion, but EPA was founded on the understanding that there's a threat, a real threat to Equatoria, to its people. And thank you, Dr. Hakim, for outlining some of the reasons why EPA was formed and the philosophies that we are pursuing at EPA. And so, really, the last few days, I have, voiced that we're going to have a very uncomfortable, these are very uncomfortable conversations because we don't all agree. We're not reading from the same page. We're saying Equatoria is under threat, but some people will say, no, it's not. And so there's a conflict, because we don't agree, right? So it's going to be very uncomfortable conversations, which we are going to have, whether people like it or not. I think we're at a crossroads. Silence is no longer an option. Many people have been really quiet, and there are reasons why, there's silence. Other people think it's okay. The status quo is okay. We can make it work. That's why they're quiet. They're silent. But a lot of it, the predominant silence, is because of fear, because of the threat that we're trying to allay here. The threat that we're trying to disrupt. Because people are not allowed. You're not even allowed to express your opinion freely. And so anything you say, it basically can lead to your death. We've had a lot of intellectuals that have been murdered for expressing their opinions, for being very vocal about Equatoria, for daring to speak for Equatoria, and we will personally, I will be speaking for Equatoria as a person that does a lot of research, and I will. My activism is scholar activism, and it's focusing on Equatoria right now, because I hold Equatoria very close to my heart, because my ancestors fought for Equatoria, and I owe future generations to fight for Equatoria. I also fully understand that right now Equatoria is considered a part of South Sudan, and so, but we've like my colleagues have very clearly articulated that territory called South Sudan right now is a failed state, and it has been incapable of providing protection for its citizens, for its inhabitants. And so, because EPA is focusing on Equatoria, we're going to deal with the threat that exists, and the lack of protection for Equatoria and Equatorians. And so we here are going to provide a collective response, and it is related to the fact that the people of Equatoria are being dispossessed. They have been dispossessed. Their land is being dispossessed. Their power is being dispossessed. And so we're not going to just keep quiet and go away because of the crossroads, that we're in right now. And so we are talking about state formation, and basically we're trying, to forge a nation, as a failed state, and that is really challenging. And you can do your own research too. I invite people to go out there and do their own research as well. A nation is supposed to be a group of people that have a collective identity, and that is missing right now. The social fabric is completely destroyed, and really, anyone who believes that there can still be a nation needs to come forward, and make a proposal, propose something that protects Equatoria as well, because we're focusing on Equatoria. So if you are proposing something that does not protect the land called Equatoria, then it's a no-go. We will not, go along with it. Basically what I'm trying to say here, I totally agree. I agree that that territory called South Sudan is a failed state by design. You see, there's a lot of characteristics of failed states. You can do your own research as well, but the biggest characteristic of a failed state is lack of protection, and it's a big deal right now. There's no protection, and we might even argue that there's no protection for anyone. But I am proposing that there's a disproportionate lack of protection for Equatoria, and it's by design. I am arguing that it's by design, and anybody who has another point of view, you're welcome. It's by design, and so really, what we're trying to do here is to highlight the threats, including the massacres that have occurred in Equatoria, and they have not been challenged by a so-called state, by a so-called government. Okay, so that speaks volumes. Like if your citizens are being massacred, Equatorians are being massacred, and you're not saying anything, you're not even coming forward and saying, we are doing this and that, this is what we're going to do to protect everyone. You're not saying that, so that speaks volumes about your intentions, about the fact that you might actually be part of the whole thing, that's happening. Dr. Akin talked about monopoly of violence. In a normal state, in a normal, a healthy nation, the monopoly of violence belongs to the state. But that's not the case, in that territory called South Sudan, because we have a lot of thugs walking around with guns, shooting people, and you're not even supposed to ask questions, when they come to your village, grab your land, and they dispossess you, chase you away, so that it looks like you've abandoned your land, and so it's uninhabited land, so they have the right to take it. And so we don't even have a government that is able to come forward and say, look, the monopoly of violence belongs to the government, and this is what we're going to do with these thugs that are walking around armed to the teeth, murdering people, robbing people, raping people, and there's nothing. So the conclusion is that there's no government. There's absolutely no government. There's no state, to protect people. So, whoever is really claiming to be the government has no right. They don't have any right now. People have the right to protect themselves now because there's no state that's protecting them. There's no government that's coming forward and saying, look, stop doing this. This is what we're going to do to prevent more violence. Nothing. It's all silence. So what I'm saying is that, this failed state is failed by design, because when a state has failed, there's a lot of lawlessness, and thugs thrive, under lawlessness, and so that's the reason why nobody's coming forward to challenge the lawlessness, to tell people this is what we're going to do. And then, when Equatoria tries to, speak up, the voices are stifled. So it's not going to happen anymore, because we owe our ancestors and we owe future generations to stop this. And there's a right. You see, when you're a nation, there are rules. There's laws that guide nations. There's rules that guide states. So and if you functioning outside of those rules, you really have no business claiming that you're even a government. So you have no business being a proverbial ostrich, shoving your head in the sand, and pretending that all is okay. So what I'm saying is that it is by design. People are just proverbial ostriches by design. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what's going on in that land. They know that it's lawless, but nobody's coming forward by design. Yeah, so that's the reason why it's the right of Equatoria to speak up. And we will be doing that through EPA. Like I said, EPA is a flat structure. It's not hierarchical. Okay, so don't start coming after individuals, because EPA is run by as a collective. We get that it's a completely different concept, because people are more used to the hierarchical nature of organizations. But EPA is a flat structure, and everybody is involved.
Looks like there is an interruption, a call interruption. So anyway, bear with us. Korea will hopefully come off her call and be able to.
Yeah. Sorry. I think I got a phone. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So what I was saying is that I want to thank everybody again, and just to reassure people that I am not dropping this baton personally. I'm just going to vouch that I will never drop this baton, because this was a baton that was passed to me from the past. And many of you will know that. And I will inform people about where that baton came from in due course. Okay, so this is not a small matter for me. And the baton is not going to be dropped by any of us. It won't be dropped by EPA, no matter what. And that's the reason why, after 3 years, we're still working. We're not going anywhere. So I want again to encourage people to come forward. Come up, speak in Arabic, English, the two languages, and we have people that can translate back and forth. So I'm going to end here for now, but I'm here. I will participate fully. Thank you.